Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of No Niche Zone, the podcast about everything. I'm your host, Priscilla Davies, and we're back at it. You know, every week. We do this almost every week, 3 times a month. So almost every week. We're back at it. Oh my gosh, what a day. I started off my day arguing with people online. What's my problem? It's like one of my Achilles heels. It's like if somebody says something that's just not accurate and it's messy, I'm gonna correct them. Anyway, I had a post of I posted about Charlie Kirk. Obviously, we talked about him last week on the podcast, and we're gonna talk about him again, just a little bit though. I had some people, I went to look at some of my posts and I had some people in my comments really sitting here trying to tell me that I just am misunderstanding his content, that he's not a racist, that the man who dropped a slur on stage, on camera, is not a racist. So it's just, what frustrates me about that so much is the gaslighting of it all. And it's just like, folks, don't let these fools gaslight you. These people, especially in that Charlie Kirk, Groyper, Nick Fuentes community, these people are master manipulators and master groomers. We talked about last week how they will groom their own to transition into women. Come on, man. And not do it in just like a, talking about a way, but diabolical, devious way. Going in, we talked about it last week about them going in and searching for things on people's phones and then deleting the history, but not the cookies. Like, it's diabolical. And I realized that's what they're doing when they're going into these comment sections being like, no, you just haven't watched him. You need to really watch him. You're just misunderstanding. People were dropping me links. Like, I'm going to go freaking watch a link of this fucking rap bastard. You know what I mean? And what kills me the most is how dare you come into me, a black woman's page, to tell me that I can't tell what the hell racism is. And you, the white savior who's supporting this motherfucker, are going to be the person to tell me that I'm wrong about racism. It's just too much. Anyway, so I was just going in, and so I'm a little heated. I ain't gonna lie. I got a little hot. I got a little tight. I ain't gonna lie. But I just wanted to mention that because I think it's really critical for us to be aware of the major gaslighting campaign that we are witnessing, not just with these folks, but across the board. They are trying to turn this guy from what he really was, which was a divisive, controversial, racist, misogynist, fill in all the other, phobes, homophobe, all that stuff. All of the isms, all of the phobes, divisive as hell. And now they're trying to gaslight us into thinking, well, he was a Christian and a family man. You're just misinterpreting what he's saying. And if you're not hip to that, you will be like, well, maybe I should check out some stuff, because that's the goal. That's their goal that they have. Then you go, maybe I am misinterpreting. Let me go check out some stuff. And then you start watching things and it's like they say a little something you agree with. So you're like, okay, he was right about that. And then they start saying weird, that's the pipeline, baby. That's the pipeline. And sometimes it starts with comments. So I just want people to be hip that we are witnessing a mass propaganda campaign, a mass gaslighting propaganda campaign. And it doesn't just stop with Charlie Kirk. This is what MAGA is doing. They are rewriting reality right in front of our eyes, rewriting reality, starting with their master, their king, their daddy Trump, that they literally call daddy. Weird ass motherfuckers, but that's none of my business. Anyway, so I just wanted to mention that because it's it's wild how you repeat something enough and eventually it starts to become the narrative. And if you're not hip, you're gonna let people convince you of things that are untrue. Just like the narrative of Biden never cared about anybody in Palestine. He never did anything for Palestine. This motherfucker secured a ceasefire. Now the narrative is that the Biden administration didn't do anything, which is a total and complete lie. And you can go back and look at the historical record. But again, the gaslighting, the rewriting of reality. Don't get got by that gaslighting. And let's get into the show, shall we? Since we already started talking about Charlie Kirk, I just wanted to tap into this one more time because, last week I was kind of in a rush and I didn't get to talk about a few things. And, just just a little catch up. Charlie Kirk had he had his or they had his memorial, and I didn't watch it because that ain't none of my business. I'm not interested in celebrating the life of people like that. But the clips that I saw and what I heard, let's just put it this way: there were pyrotechnics. There were Charlie Kirk's wife, his widow of less than 2 weeks now, 3 weeks, walked out to pyrotechnics. I mean, it wasn't a memorial service so much as a rally. Let's keep it real. A rally for the MAGA base. And it was something else. And I just, the thing that really is so interesting to me about this whole Charlie Kirk thing, aside from what we've already discussed, is how much is coming out from this experience, right? It's like his death has opened the closet doors and so many skeletons are falling out. Like we found out about this whole like weirdo groiper, incel, alt-right, transmaxing, BNWO. Remember I told you to look that up last week, the Black New World Order. Let me see if I can find that clip so I could play it for you so you can know. Because if you didn't look it up, let me see. I might be able to find that clip where the Black New World Order is explained. Oh, here it is. I think this is it. Let's see.
Yeah, this is like another thing that people don't realize about groypers. Groypers, and like not just groypers, but like just a very large subsect of conservative right-wing people absolutely fetishize Black masculinity. So because I am a white trans woman who does sex work, I attract a certain kind of audience. Want to specify an audience that I absolutely do everything I can to make sure that like I snuff out and like I push away from my pages because I want absolutely nothing to do with them. And that is BNWO. BNWO stands for Black New World Order. It is a fetish promoted almost exclusively by white guys who think that like the natural order of things is that white men are it's so weird that sexually white men are inherently subservient to Black men in terms of sex and thus need to reject their masculinity and transition into women so that they can please Black men. Yeah, this is like another thing that people do.
Okay. Did you hear what that? They need to reject because, I mean, it doesn't, it's like just even repeating it back, you feel like a psychopath. So their logic is that Black men are sexually superior to them. So in response to that, their job is to make themselves subservient in order to essentially worship Black dick, to make themselves available to Black peen. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. I can't take it. It's making my brain hurt. This is the world we live in, y'all. And this is some of the stuff that's come out since Charlie Kirk's death. It's like Charlie Kirk was like a seal on a bottle that was about to explode. And as soon as that seal was removed, all this stuff started coming out. We find out about the groypers. We find out about the internal war going on between the MAGA base and between the alt-right and those who think that, people like Charlie Kirk were not right enough. We're not extreme enough. We're finding out about, then we have Candace Owens here, who's now, making an Israel connection to Charlie Kirk and pulling, like, I don't follow her either. She another messy hoe. But, I keep my ear to the ground though. I keep my, I be listening. And, she was, talking about stuff and pulling out Israeli connections and just all kind of crazy stuff coming out. And it just speaks to what I mentioned previously on this podcast, which is that when we look back on this time, one of the names we're going to call this era is the Great Unveiling, the Great Revelation, because all of the skeletons are coming out of the closet. 2 weeks ago, we had no idea that there was this whole underground world of alt-right, racist white men who are transitioning into women because they hate women. But they still want access to women. So they groom other dudes in their community to become women, and that some of these men are have a fetish for black. I mean, and this is all under the umbrella of incredible racism. Like, it's so twisted and ass backwards. None of us knew that even existed. And all this, and of course, Charlie Kirk is just one aspect, right? We have all these other things, the Epstein files, right? We still waiting. Some more files were released. Now we have who was mentioned in it. According to Politico, it was Peter Thiel, who was the big billionaire who's funding a lot of the MAGA movement, and who basically is JD Vance's backer. He's now been mentioned in the Epstein files. We now have Steve Bannon, who was, we know that dude who's another one of Trump's boys. He's in the list. And who was the other one? Was it Elon Musk? Elon Musk, which is ironic, right? Because Elon just a couple months ago was calling out Donald Trump for being on the list. And he's been now mentioned in the Epstein files. It's like, so we have the Epstein files coming out. We have all of these little, all these lawsuits, the sexual assault lawsuits that have been happening since 2024. P. Diddy's situation, all that coming out. And we're realizing that, and then not just think about the Epstein situation, right? It's not just about Epstein. We had that Democratic lawmaker come out and talk about how the government, high-ranking government officials were involved with Jeffrey Epstein, talking about how it also involves international governments. This is so much bigger than just, some weird dude who was trafficking people in Florida, right? It's so much bigger. And then you have things like like I said, the Diddy situation coming out. I mean, there's just so much stuff is coming out. There's a lot of trafficking victims are starting to speak out too. And that's one of the issues, right? We talked about believing victims. And, one of the reasons why we, aside from the fact that this is, we live in a rape culture that supports rapists and supports pedophiles and protects predators, right? Aside from that, we also live in a world where victims are continually in danger because the people who are victimizing them are some of the people at the top. There is a trafficking victim that came out recently, and she's been trying to tell her story about how, and this is her words, this is what she's alleging, that she was a victim of ritual sexual abuse and trafficking. And who was the one that was running it or putting her into it? Her daddy. And who was her daddy, or is her daddy, because he's still alive? He was the chief of police of some city in New Jersey. She's accusing her chief of police daddy of being one of the heads of this trafficking ring that she was forced into. You're gonna have to look it up. I don't recall her name. I gave you enough facts. You're gonna have to look it up. But there's more people coming out like this. And one of the main reasons why we don't, people say, well, why don't they just come out and say stuff? Because their lives are in danger. Just like that Democratic lawmaker said, this goes to the top. Who are you gonna call when the people you're supposed to call are the people involved? Like I said, we are in the time of the great revelation, the great unveiling. And as time goes on, we're going to start seeing these connections, and we're going to start realizing, there was just recently, there was a judge, South Carolina, a judge who just got convicted for child, you-know-what type of material, okay? And not only, trigger warning, big fat freaking trigger warning, not only was he arrested for that, but part of what they found in the evidence, incriminating this guy, was him, text messages between him and his creepy ass friends, his other perverted ass friends, where he's admitting in the text messages and talking about in the text messages assaulting a baby, a 2-week-old baby. This is a judge. He was the judge on the Dylan Roof case. Dylan Roof, the guy who shot up, I believe it was the church, the racist. This is a judge. There was another judge who I don't know if it was recently or like the last couple years, who was shot to death in his office. They go into his, obviously they do an investigation. Come to find out, this guy is running a sex trafficking ring out of the local jail. This is the judge. So who do the victims go to when the people who they're supposed to go to are the people who are perpetrating? We're going to start finding out the deep, dark, dirty secrets of Child Protective Services, DCFS, CPS, whatever you call it, wherever you come from. That's going to start coming out too, okay? It's not a coinky-dink that kids just go missing from the system. It's not a coinky-dink. We just found out that something like 1,200 people have disappeared from Alligator Alcatraz. How you lose 1,200 motherfucking people? 1,200. Not 12, not 100. 1,200 people have gone missing from Alligator Alcatraz. But are we surprised when there's still 1,400 children who have not been reconnected with their families from the first Trump administration? The kids they were throwing in cages? These traffickers, they gotta have a supply. They gotta have a supply. We're starting to hear the stories coming out. People are starting to come out and telling us where they're getting these supplies of victims. Cruise ships, traveling, people don't go. I just saw a story of some girl who got kidnapped in Tunisia. Thankfully, she got out. So I say all this to say that we are currently in what I would call the great unveiling. A lot of dirt is coming to the surface. There's a Vedic astrology. There's different types of astrology. There's Vedic astrology, which is different from the Western astrology that you and I are all familiar with. Vedic astrology is a lot more in depth. There's a Vedic astrologer. Her name is Carefree Brown Girl. Love her. And she mentioned that in Vedic astrology, 2025 is the year of humiliation. The year of humiliation, meaning that this is a year that things are being exposed. She also says that according to Vedic astrology, we're in the downfall of colonialism as well. But it's going to come on the tail end of fascism coming back. But we'll talk about that at a later day. But the point is that even in astrology, this is being reflected. And I think that this is being reflected in astrology. All you astrologers can come in and say what transits are happening. But we're seeing the big unveiling. All the secrets are coming to the surface. And y'all better start girding your loins. Y'all better get ready. Brace yourselves. Because your faves are going to start getting exposed even more. Even more. Y'all got to brace yourselves. And it's just wild. I mean, there's just so much stuff coming out that is like, literally the other day, I found out about, have y'all heard of bug chasers? I'm sorry that I have to start out this episode by dropping all this weirdo shit on you. But it's like when I found out, I was like, I can't believe this is a thing. Have y'all heard of bug chasers? I learned this recently. There are people out there who their kink, their fetish, what gets them off is giving and receiving STIs, sexually transmitted infections. That's their fetish. There are people in the world who get off on giving and receiving. I mean, and how did I find out about this? Because as usual, someone online was talking about it from their personal experience. And let me see if I can pull that up. This girl was talking about how her dad is a bug chaser.
My dad purposefully got HIV because he's a self-proclaimed bug chaser and he thinks that it's hot. And no, I'm not joking, because he methodically was planning to do this for years. When we were children, he started to buy books about AIDS and the AIDS epidemic. He would read them, and then he would come up to our family and my other siblings and tell us about how amazing it was to be able to take care of victims of the AIDS epidemic, and how wouldn't it be such a good cause, and how he just feels so bad for all of those victims and how they just want someone to take care of them. This was all methodic planning so my dad could help us become desensitized for when he developed HIV. About 2 years ago, my family received a call about how my dad was extremely sick. He had rashes on his body, he couldn't sleep, night sweats, all of these horrible things. He genuinely seemed like he was going to die. He goes to the hospital a couple of days later, and then we get a call. He had developed 3 STDs, one of them being HIV. Yes, I confronted him about getting it on purpose. He did not deny this, because why would he? He chose to abandon his family so he could then pursue this life of bug chasing and being with other bug chasers. Not only did he try to groom me to be his partner and his toy, but he also wanted us, his family, to take care of him when he purposefully self-destructed. And I'm not supposed to talk about this either, but I hate him, so.
Okay. That is, I can't even read that name. I'm just gonna have to put in it's a million names at once. And she's not the only one. I've seen other people talking about this. Y'all, this is the world we live in. And we're all sitting here thinking that there are people out there, can you believe that? And this man had a family. This isn't just some single dude out there being a weirdo. This dude had a family and he was willing to drag his whole family into this nonsense. I mean, we are really living in some, they say Sodom and Gomorrah, Babylon, whatever. I mean, I don't even know. I'm like, it's giving worse. It's giving worse. So I just, again, just be prepared. A lot of stuff is going to be coming out over the next few months, over the next few years, probably I'd say for this next decade. We're going to find out the dirt, the deep down, low, dirty dirt. And like I said, be prepared, because we're finding out the truth of all that's been happening behind the scenes. That's been affecting all of us, right? Because this isn't just about being salacious and whatever. This is affecting us. That whole groiper transmaxing community, those motherfuckers are running our government right now. Okay? This isn't just a bunch of dudes in their basement being weird. That groiper community, they are the reason partly why we have Donald Trump. They thought it would be funny. Because remember, this is an online community. Everything's about irony, memes and irony, right? They thought it would be ironic and funny to have that man as president. And so they put their entire internet weight behind him. And that they are part of the reason why this man is where he is today. And there are people like them who are in the administration, in the government right now with these warped ass BNWO, transmaxing, weirdo, femboy, this mentality. These are the people who are running our government. Just let that one sink in. All right, let's move on, shall we? Well, folks, Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air. Last episode, we talked about how he had been suspended for making comments about the Charlie Kirk incident. Really, he made comments about Donald Trump's reaction to Charlie Kirk, and they suspended him. And white people lost their ever-loving minds. And so white people decided to boycott Disney everything, okay? They decided to boycott Disney. They decided to boycott ABC. They canceled their Hulu subscriptions. They canceled their ABCP. They canceled their Disney vacations, right? They went ham. And guess what? 3 days later, guess who was back on the air? Jimmy Kimmel, okay? And even just a couple days ago, the last holdouts who still, because, this is not just one company. It's a whole thing. It's like different companies. But the last couple of holdouts that were not putting him on the air finally acquiesced recently, and now he's officially back on the air all over. And I'm just wondering, where was that energy for Joyanne Reid? when she got fired from MSNBC because she was one of the only real ones at MSNBC. Where was that energy? Where was that energy for Don Lemon? Where was that energy for Katie Fang and Alex Wagner and Mehdi Hassan and Jim Acosta and all the and the list does go on. All the other people who were fired from their jobs for speaking the truth. Where was that energy? You know, it's so powerful to see the power of collective action. Look at how quickly, when everybody decided, you know what, we're going to take action and we're going to take it swiftly. Look how quickly they walked it back. Look how quickly. But I guess only white people get that energy, right? Only your faves, your favorite white people get that energy, right? The blacks, no. The browns, Nope, just the whites. I'm like, it boggles my mind and it frustrates me to see the difference in reaction. You know, it's just like I said, it's such a slap in the face, you know? And it just reminds me, the thing that pops into my head instantly is that quote, right? The famous quote, first they came for the socialists and I said nothing because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I said nothing because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I said nothing because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was nobody left to speak up for me. And that's what I'm seeing here, okay? Y'all motherfuckers turn a blind eye when it's the black people getting kicked off of shows, when it's the brown folks getting kicked off of shows, when it's any BIPOC people getting kicked off of shows. Y'all don't even bat an eye. But your white boy, Jimmy Kimmel, your favorite white boy, and y'all went into overdrive and made change like that. Like that. But then you want to be harassing black and brown people who are sitting here fighting for liberation when you have the power. Look how easily, look at all it took was for y'all. Y'all didn't even have to get up in the streets. A couple of clicks online. Cancel. And you were able to go up against the megalith of Disney and shut him down in 3 days. For your favorite white boy. But anybody else, who cares? Who cares? Nobody had anything to say, nothing. The only people who had Joy-Ann Reid's back were black women. And yeah, I stopped watching MSNBC after they got rid of that whole slew of people that I mentioned. Instantly. And MSNBC used to be playing on in the background of my house all the time. Instantly got rid of that. Where was that solidarity for Joy-Ann Reid and Don Lemon and all the rest of them? Y'all white folk, it's like, I don't know what's going on with y'all. I don't know how many generations it's gonna take for you guys to wake up. And I already know, like now y'all got Jimmy Kimmel back on the air and it's back to brunch, right? Now it's like, oh, everything's fine again, right? You would think that would make you ask yourself, well, who else has been getting screwed? Let's see who else we can help. Nope. Y'all got your one white boy back. You're back to doing nothing again, right? Is that the plan, girl? So it's just really frustrating to see that type of energy for some people and not for others. And what folks don't understand is that you can't pick and choose who gets treated poorly and who doesn't, and think that you're going to be okay. First they came for the socialists, then they came for the Jews, then they came for the unions, and then they came for me. See, when they were coming for Joy-Ann Reid, y'all didn't give a damn. When they went for Don Lemon, y'all didn't give a damn. When they went for Mehdi Hassan, y'all didn't give a damn. When they went for Katie Fang and Alex Wagner and all the y'all didn't give a damn. But then they came for your favorite white boy. See, they wouldn't have come for Jimmy Kimmel if y'all had stood up for the rest of them the way you stood up for him. So let's see how this continues to play out, because Jimmy Kimmel's not going to be the last. The goal of this administration is to destroy the mainstream media so that they can control it and they can control the propaganda and the narrative. Let's see what happens moving forward. Kamala Harris, she's on her book tour, and oh boy, people are heckling her. The pro-Palestine movement, I shouldn't even say the pro-Palestine. I should say the pro-Palestine anti-Kamala movement, because I don't think it's necessarily the same group. But the pro-Palestine anti-Kamala movement, they're at her book tour heckling her, protesting her. And I'm sure you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking. Why? What can a private citizen doing a book tour do for the Palestinian people? You wanted her to do something. You needed to vote her into office so she could. That's how it works. Hello? And you didn't. You didn't want her to win. She didn't win. Now she's a private citizen. She's not in any office. She didn't go back to being a senator. She's not running for governor. She's just a regular human being living her life, doing a book tour, and y'all are protesting her on behalf of Palestine as if she can do something about it. But the reason why folks are protesting Kamala Harris in her book tour is the same reason why folks were so mad at the 92%. The 92%, when the 92% said, we're gonna sit back and relax. We're staying out of it. We're staying home. We're staying off the streets. The same reason y'all are mad at Kamala is the same reason you're mad at the 92%. And that's because we have decided to stop being your mules. We are no longer going to be doing work on your behalf. We are no longer putting our lives and our bodies on the line to protect y'all. We are no longer being your saviors. Y'all have this weird magical Negro mammy idea about Black women, that our job is to serve y'all. And when we're not serving y'all, then we are messing up, and that we deserve to be protested and yelled at and doxxed and harassed because we are not serving y'all. We're not bending over backwards and letting y'all disrespect us, mistreat us, violate us, and then we still show up and do the right thing. We're not going high when y'all go low. That's the difference. And Kamala Harris, she said, oh, y'all didn't want to elect me? I was ready to do the work. She said, y'all don't want to elect me? Great, fine, I'm going to go on vacation. And the world erupted. All of the haters erupted. How can she be on vacation? How dare she go on vacation? What? Palestine, Gaza, what's going on here? How dare she go on vacation? Why wouldn't she go on vacation? What did you want her to do? What exactly is Kamala Harris supposed to do? What is she supposed to do? Walk to Palestine and start a protest by herself? She had an opportunity to be in a position to do something, and y'all denied her that because she was too fucking Black for y'all and she was too much of a woman for y'all. And y'all refused to acknowledge that. So you still, and you're hiding your racism and your misogyny and your misogynoir behind some faux, fake, phony Palestinian protest. Why are y'all protesting her at book signing events and not Donald Trump, the actual motherfucker in office with the actual power who's talking about making Gaza a parking lot? Why are y'all not heckling him there? What the hell? Where are you at these MAGA events? But instead, you're going to the Black woman because your mammy isn't working the way you think she should, so you're gonna harass her until she shows up. The same way that you tried to harass Black women into showing up for y'all when you've never showed up for us once. Not in the history of this whole entire country. Y'all have never showed up for Black women once. Not fucking once. But you expect us to show up for you every freaking time. And that's exactly why y'all have the nerve to be showing up at a place that has no practical value when it comes to actual tangible change. Why are you at a book signing, a book tour, protesting for Palestine? Why aren't you on fucking Pennsylvania Avenue doing that shit? Why aren't you at your state house doing that? Why, instead of being in the audience, sitting here harassing Kamala, why aren't you on the flotilla going to bring aid to Gaza? No, you're gonna take your energy and instead of using that energy to actually enact change, you're gonna use that energy to whine and complain that your mammy's not taking care of you anymore the way you want to. That's what you're gonna do with that energy. How is protesting her book tour helping Palestinians? Quick, fast, tell me now. Meanwhile, Trump is out here not just destroying Palestine, but destroying the country too. And y'all are at her events. See, that was the plan that you guys refused to get on board with. The plan was to get her in office so we could protest her. That was the plan. She was easier to protest against than him. So we made a calculated decision and chose to go with her because not only would she be easier for us to protest against, but she wasn't going to turn around and destroy the country as well, which would make protesting even harder. How am I going to protest from Alligator Alcatraz? Anybody? Raise your hand quick. Somebody. Sir in the back? Up. How am I going to protest when I have no Medicaid, I have my SNAP benefits have been cut, now I got to figure out how I'm going to eat and feed my kids? How am I going to protest? How am I going to protest when the economy is going to shit? When literally the administration is sitting here literally crashing the economy before our eyes intentionally so that they can enrich themselves. And somehow you thought that we were going to be able to fight against Palestine simultaneously while the boot is even harder on our neck. Y'all want to protest her, you should have put her in office. Hello? If you want to you should have put her in office. You didn't want her to get elected, she didn't get elected, and you still harassing her. But like I said, it's the same energy for the 92%. Y'all told black women, after black women said, oh, you guys wanted to fucking throw us under the bus? You didn't care about our well-being? Well, guess what? We're going to pull back and we're going to stop sitting here putting ourselves on the line for other people's causes when those people don't give a damn about us. And what was your reaction? Well, then take the watermelons out of your bio. Then stop talking about it. And we did. And guess what y'all did? Y'all started doxing black women. Y'all started your accountability archives against black women. Because in your warped white supremacy, patriarchal mind, black women, our only purpose is to serve y'all and to take care of y'all and to be the front lines for all of your causes while y'all spit on our causes like it's nothing. Y'all didn't bat an eye when Joyanne Reid got canceled, but Jimmy Kimmel, y'all were there in a heartbeat. We've been talking about ancestors on this show, and I wanted to jump back into that a little bit because I didn't have enough time last episode. First and foremost, it's time for us to activate phase 2 of reconnecting with our ancestors, Black people. And phase 2 is called Tell on Them. Yeah, tell on them. Tell your ancestors on everybody. Tell them how they're treating us down here. Tell your ancestors how they're doing us down here. Let them know. Go cry to them. Tell them what's going on. Tell them how they're treated. Tell them that they won't give us our reparations. Tell them that they're abusing us and they're violating us. Tell them that they're shitting on our rights. Tell them, tell the ancestors, tell on everybody. Okay? Spare nobody. Tell them what the administration is doing. Tell them what they're doing. Tell them what they're doing all over this planet. Tell on everybody. See, the thing about the ancestors is they work for us. That's what it means to be on the ancestral plane. Not every ancestor does, but the ancestors that do take on that work, that is their job. That's what they do, right? And they're always down for a little side quest, because what else is there to do? You're an ancestor. What else you gonna do but just be chilling, right? They're always down for a little side quest. So tell them. Tell them. Tell them how we're being treated. Tell them what's going on here so that they can work for us behind the scenes. Tell on everybody. Tell on everybody and let them know so that they can do work. We know, of course, they can see what's going on, but we also have to tell them what's going on. We have to give them that energy. Like I was mentioning before, giving our focus to our ancestors, giving energy to them so they can use that energy, that fuel to actually work for us behind the scenes. And one way that we can do that is by telling on the people who are oppressing us, who are disenfranchising us and marginalizing us. Tell on them. Someone in my comments even said, ask your ancestors to help with getting reparations, not just in the physical plane, but also on the ancestral plane for them to get their reparations as well. Ask them for that. There was a few people actually, when I was talking about the ancestors, they asked about like ancestor altars and how to create an ancestor altar. I don't know what to do. I've been thinking about it. So I wanted to just hit that and address that real quick. First and foremost, everybody is different. There is no one right way to do anything at all. You're always going to want to do the things that work the best for you. Okay? There is no one way to do anything. So get that out, like let that go, right? Let the idea of doing it the right way or the wrong way, let it go. Let's start there, okay? So first and foremost, when it comes to ancestor altars, I want you to understand that a physical altar is just a physical manifestation of an intention. It's just a physical manifestation of a mindset, right? You're putting a physical manifestation, but you can be your own altar. Your mind can be your ancestor altar. Your heart can be your ancestor altar. The purpose is to hold them in your mind, to hold them in your heart. If you're a thinker, hold them in your mind. If you're a feeler, hold them in your heart. You hold a place for them. You acknowledge their presence and you hold a place for them in your heart. You hold a place for them in your mind. You think of them. That is energy. That is energy exchange. Whatever you focus on is where energy goes, right? And I know, I'm getting a little hippy dippy, but I'm going to try to bring it down to earth for y'all, all right? Think about how many times you've been sitting there and you feel something, right? You feel someone looking at you. And then you turn to look and what happens? Either someone is staring at you. And if they're German, they'll keep staring at you because apparently Germans be staring at people. It's a thing. Look up the German stare. But most people, what do? They do that little flinch and they look away like, oh, she caught me staring at her. This happens to us all the time. This is an undeniable phenomenon, right? Where you can feel somebody staring at you. The reason why you can feel them staring at you is because of energy flow. Where you put your attention, energy flows. Because we can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I can't see how the lights work, but when I flip that switch, they come on, right? So in the same way that just paying attention to something, you're directing energy, enough energy to that person that they're gonna look at you. No words have been said. You could be across the way, not even near them. That is how energy works, focus and attention. So where you put your focus, you are fueling energy. That is why, our government and the media want you to put your focus and attention towards them because they want you to fuel their endeavors. But the goal here is for us to take that energy and focus it on people who will, or places and people, ourselves included, who will actually help us. So first, I want you to understand that an ancestor altar does not have to be a physical thing. You yourself can be the altar. Your mind can be the altar. Your heart can be the altar. If me saying that to you resonates with you, that's probably the way you should go. Okay? Another way to do this without a physical altar is just talking to them. Same thing. It's a similar vein as holding it in your mind. Okay? Being aware and conscious of them. That's another way to do this, all right? Now, if you actually want to create a physical altar, again, there's no right way to do it. I'm just gonna give you a few tips. You can pick and choose what you want. Always do what resonates with you. Don't just do something because it seems like that's what people say to do. Do what resonates with you. So the simplest ancestor altar, you're gonna wanna put a little bit of water on there, all right? Get some water. You can do, I do on my ancestor altar, I do a little shot glass. And I just fill up that shot glass with water, I put it there. If you have a little cute bowl, whatever, it's whatever you feel. Put some water on your ancestor altar. Put pictures. That's another option for you. I don't have pictures on my ancestor altar just because I haven't gotten around to it yet, because, I'm a procrastinator. But print up pictures of your ancestors, of your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and not just your ancestors, direct ancestors, but also people like Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Nat Turner. You can put folks like that onto your ancestor altar as well, and you can feed them as well. You can direct your energy to them as well and ask them for help and bring the spirit, the energy of what they represented into your life as well. So you're gonna wanna get some pictures, put pictures up. Then you're gonna wanna feed your ancestors. You do that with literal food. Remember, this is symbolic, right? This is all symbology, right? This is a symbol for you actually energizing, feeding your ancestors energetically. You do that with the representation of food. If you wanna put a whole plate out, some people put whole plates out. Me, I just like to put fruit out because it's easy to deal with and I don't, have to deal with all that. Some people, they put out full-on plates. Whatever you feel called to do that, okay? And then some people also will put out things that their ancestors liked. So if your ancestor liked a particular type of drink, you can put it there. If they smoked, you can put some cigarettes, some tobacco for a pipe. You can put a little pipe down. You can even put things from them. Like if you have jewelry from some of these people, you can put, again, you can do whatever you want. The key is to remember that you're the boss. You make the rules, and it's what you believe and what you think and what you're manifesting this. So you're in charge. You make the rules. But these are guidelines, loose guidelines to help you if you're thinking of creating an ancestor altar and you're trying to think of somewhere to start. These are loose guidelines to help you. You can go even deeper with it. I would encourage doing some research on it. If you can speak to somebody who's, I'm not initiated. I'm not, this is things that I've collected on my travels, okay? Because folks, now is the time, Black people especially, but also, I'm also talking to my indigenous fam. I'm even talking to some white people too, because some of y'all gotta go back, skip over them colonizer ancestors. You gotta go back to the ancestors, the indigenous ancestors of Europe who were colonized by them weird ass people who went around and colonized everybody else, okay? It is time to start reestablishing our connection, and you have to feed, again, this energy flow. You got to feed them in order for them to be able to work on your behalf. And I don't think it's a coincidence that our ancestors have told us, Black people, to stay inside. They told us to stay home, and we all got that memo, right? And I don't think that is a coinky dink, y'all. The system is run by bloodlust people. These are people who belong to a death cult. They don't know what to do if there's not death and misery around them. So they find targets and they go after them. And when you are no longer a target, what happens? They turn that energy inward. There's that famous quote, right? That fascism is just colonialism turned inward. When the fascists no longer have people to colonize, they turn around and they try to colonize each other. Let's not forget, it was alt-right who shot and murdered Charlie Kirk. It was one of their own. Fascism is the result of colonizer mentality, not having anybody to colonize, because you can only colonize so much. You can only colonize so much. And I see that manifesting in how we Black people decided to stay the hell home. Now what's happening? They don't have a target anymore. They're losing their minds, and you can see how they're losing their minds. You can see, the Trump administration is doing everything in their power to try to provoke people, to try to provoke especially Black people. Every day it's some new nonsense that they're doing to try to provoke Black people, to get Black people up in arms so we run out in the streets. It ain't gonna happen because our ancestors told us to stay home because they understand the energy flow dynamics. And if you are not, it's like narcissism, right? A narcissist can't be a narcissist unless someone is there to be a narcissist with. When you gray rock a narcissist, when you turn away and you no longer give them energy, you stop trying to negotiate with them. You stop trying to make sense of you stop trying to rationalize and get them to understand. When you stop doing that, the narcissist loses all power. And that's what we're seeing. And when the narcissist starts losing all power, what do? They start throwing tantrums. And that's what we're seeing. We are witnessing the extinction burst of white supremacy, of the United States of America that was built on, this blood-soaked foundation. We are witnessing the end of this of empire, the empire as we know it, patriarchy, all of the capital, all of this stuff. We're witnessing the end of this, and we are seeing the extinction burst of that, which is them wilding out and going crazy and losing their minds. And you can see how they're losing their minds because we are not giving them anything back. We're just looking at them like they're crazy because they are. And we're ignoring every attempt at poking us. And so what do? They got to find a new target. Because that is the nature of this system. It is a bloodlust system that has been surviving off of blood spilled since the beginning of time. Of this time, because there was a lot more before the patriarchy existed. So I think, Black people, this is a powerful moment for us to withdraw our attention, withdraw our focus, withdraw our enemy, and watch how that vitriol and that violence that they are always targeting us with, watch how it starts to turn inward. Because again, like that original quote that I said, first they came for the socialists, then they came for the unionists, then they came, and then in the end, they're always going to come for you because their system needs suffering in order to survive. That is just what it is. And it all comes down to energy, the energy. Think about when you messing with somebody, right? And they start getting upset and getting frustrated. What happens to you? You start getting happy and you're laughing because you're intentionally messing with them to get a rise. You get the rise, now you're happy. Now you have a little bit more energy. Now you're feeling good, a little brightness in your eye because you were messing around with somebody, and now that person is miserable. And that's the same thing that we see happening on a global scale. They are fucking with us so they can use our energy vampires, to continue to ingratiate themselves and build themselves up. So in conclusion, folks, Black people especially, go to the ancestors, start fueling that relationship, start engaging with them, and tell on everybody. Tell on everybody, okay? And with that being said, folks, we've come to the end of another episode of No Niche Zone. Guys, if you're listening to us on one of the many podcast platforms and you've enjoyed what you heard today, please don't be shy. Leave a little review. That really helps us with the algorithm. It really lets them know to put the podcast in front of other eyes. So please, guys, if you like what you heard here today, give me a cute little review, okay? Also, you can follow the podcast at No Niche Zone Pod across all platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube where you can find longer clips of the video episode. You can also follow me at Pris the Goddess across all platforms. And you can also send in your listener letters to nonichezone@gmail.com. With that being said, folks, we'll see you next time.
No niche zone. No niche zone. It's a party over here. No niche zone. No niche zone.